How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, when I was in college, there was this little meme that went around that showed a little triangle and it said, sleep, good grades, social life, pick two. And it kind of explained how you couldn't really have everything you wanted in college life. And for me, I found that bike parts are kind of along the same lines in that you have a similar triangle, except you have durability, lightweight, price, right? So you can have cheap and durable, but it's not going to be light. You can have light and cheap, but it's not going to be durable. And you can have any combination of the three, right? And it's hard to find bike parts that sort of do hit all three of those things, right? Something that's durable, inexpensive, or at least relatively inexpensive, and lightweight. And the only thing I've found, or one of the few things I've found in recent times that has kind of touched upon all three of those things has been my Woodman seat post that I have on my Santa Cruz Highball. Now, it's obviously not cheap. It is $180, which is a lot for a seat post. But if you look at lighter seat posts like the Darimo or MCFK, those are $300+, right? It's very light, not quite as light as those super high-end ones, but lighter than almost anything else out in the market. And I've ridden it now for about 1,000 miles and I've had no issues. You know, I've dropped the bike, I've crashed the bike, and the seat post is holding up just fine. So a few weeks ago, I got an email from Woodman, actually, and they said, hey, we saw your video in which you showed one of our seat posts, and we were wondering if you'd like to do another video with some more of our products. And I thought, sure, why not? You know, I've had a really good experience with Woodman, and I figured I'd see what else they have to offer. Now, a quick disclaimer, these products I'm going to show you today were given to me by Woodman for the purpose of making this video, but any opinions of them are my own. I was not told what to say or what to think about them. These are my own impressions. With that disclaimer out of the way, let me show you what Woodman sent me. In this box here, I have the Woodman Carbo GT2 Ti. Now, when Woodman reached out to me, they asked me what kind of products I'd be interested in making a review about. And they asked me specifically, are there any seat posts you'd like to check out? And for me, well, the Carbo EL, which is their lightest seat post, extra light is what EL stands for, I already have that, right? I already tried it out on my Highball. So I said, well, what else do you have? Do you have anything new, anything that I might be interested in? They said, well, why don't you check out the GT2? This one is meant more for mountain biking and gravel biking. And it might be something that's up your alley. Now, the EL, which I have on my Highball, that one is meant for road use and light cross country, according to their website, which, again, I've had no issues using it for that purpose, light cross country, some trail riding, stuff like that. This, on the other hand, is meant to be a little bit beefier, but still very much lightweight. This is the GT2 Ti version, Ti standing for titanium because the bolts on the cradle are titanium. Now, this post is obviously still meant to be, like I said, lightweight, and it comes in a couple different lengths. It comes in a 350 and a 450, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of millimeters, and it comes in either a matte finish or a gloss finish, and it has this sort of 3K carbon weave on it. And it's a really nice piece. Like I said, my EL, which is even lighter than this one, has held up just fine. It's well manufactured. It feels like a quality piece. It feels solid. It doesn't feel flimsy at all. And I've really enjoyed the other Woodman seat posts that I have. And so when I was offered to take a look at this for review purposes, I said, you know, let's check it out. So I'm gonna be installing this today on my Santa Cruz Stigmata I've got here behind me. Now, this is my gravel bike that I haven't actually really shown on the channel at all, but I figured this would be a great bike for the seat post. Now, the seat post comes in at about 148 grams, at least according to my scale. This is in the 350 millimeter length in the 27.2 diameter, which is, if you compare it to other 27.2 seat posts, it's really competitive. It is up there for one of the lighter seat posts. Like I said, you know, the really high-end boutique ones like the Darimo and the MCFK, like those are incredibly light, but they're also $300+, right? This at, I believe, 180 is the price. I might be wrong about that. It might be 170, but I believe it's 180. This at about $180 is a really solid deal for the weight, right? Obviously they're a lighter seat post, but you know, this is a full carbon fiber lightweight seat post, and obviously you're gonna have to pay for that. Now, Woodman is a company that's been around for a while. They sort of shifted recently from being a company that focused more on kind of like really indestructible products. That was always sort of their niche. And now they've started to enter more of the weight weenie market, so really lightweight products. I don't think, though, they've forgotten the durability aspect of their product line, because like I said, the Carbo EL that I have in my highball, even though it's meant for only light cross-country use, it's been super durable. I've had no issues with it. It looks as good as new, and I've been riding it, you know, as a completely normal seat post. I've had no issues, no concerns, and it's worked out very well for me. So I think these are durable products, but they are also very lightweight. Now, to go along with the seat post, Woodman also sent me a couple of other products that I will be installing today. I have this Deathgrip TCSL seat clamp in gold. I've always wanted to kind of bling this bike out a little bit, so when I saw the gold, I said, yeah, send me that one. And this is also the titanium version. It's got a titanium bolt here on the back, and this is in the 31.8 diameter. And this seat post clamp comes in at 11.3 grams for the 31.8 titanium version. There is a version that's a little bit thinner, but this one, they said, is the one that's more meant for carbon frames, and so that's why I got this one. And then along with that, they also sent me this product, which is new to them. It's the Capsule PH. It's a headset plug and top cap. So this is essentially what keeps your headset together on a full carbon fork, right? So rather than having the traditional star nut that goes in there, this is what goes in there and then holds everything together. And again, this is meant to be a lighter weight version than what comes on most stock bikes. And this plug expander comes in at 28.5 grams. I also just like the gold. And so they said, hey, do you want to try this out? And I said, sure, send it to me in gold. I'll throw it on my Santa Cruz Stigmata, and that's it. All right, so we have our seat post, our clamp, our plug expander. Let's go ahead and install these on the Stigmata, and then we'll go ahead and see how they look, take her out for a test spin, and see how they feel. Thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video so far. Please stay tuned through the end. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so for more build videos, product reviews, how-tos, all that good stuff. As usual, thank you for watching. Let's go install some bike parts. So we're able to shed quite a little bit of weight here off of the weight of the bike with these parts from Woodman. So in total, we shaved close to 200 grams. The expander plug, the stock one, the Cane Creek one, was 45.5 grams. We replaced it with the Woodman Capsule PH, which is 28.5 grams for a weight savings of 17 grams. The seat post clamp was 21.3 grams for the stock Santa Cruz branded one. And then the Woodman TCSLTi Deathgrip seat post clamp was 11.1 grams for a total weight saving of 10.2 grams. And then finally, the biggest drop was in the seat post. We went from the stock aluminum Easton seat post that came with the bike at 316.4 grams, and we replaced that with the Woodman GT2 Ti Seatpost, which comes in at 148.8 grams for a weight savings of 167.6 grams. And it's important to note that the seat posts were both of the same diameter, obviously, and the same length, 350 millimeters. And this is a total weight savings of 194.8 grams. So these parts from Woodman are really, living up to the ethos, I guess, of the brand, which is lightweight components. They've all helped me shave some weight off the bike here. And I have to say, so far I've been impressed with the quality. The clamp and the capsule, I mean, they're relatively small parts. The capsule was a little bit finicky to install at first because you had to sort of hold the top cap down and then tighten the Torx. It's a little bit different than the standard expander plugs, which sort of have, standard one has sort of the top cap, but also a secondary bolt within it that you tighten inside the steer tube, and then you just sort of tighten the top cap onto it to set the preload. So this one's a little bit different since it's just one bolt and it kind of wanted to spin. But once I figured it out, and I contacted Woodman, I sent them an email, said, hey, am I doing this right? And they said, yeah, that's how it works. So it seems to work fine. Obviously, one sort of limitation to consider with the capsule is that because you can't really adjust the depth of the expander, if you have a bunch of spacers, you may not get the expander where you need it. Because you want to be right where the stem clamps to sort of provide force pushing out on the steer tube for the stem to then clamp onto. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you have a lot of spacers, if your stem is really low, if you have a ton of spacers on top of your stem, you might want to cut that at some point. But that may be something that limits your use of this particular product. The Seatpost clamp looks great, works great, torques down fine. The titanium bolt seems to be well made. I didn't notice or see any sort of rounding off or stripping, and I torqued it down to the recommended 5 Newton meters. And then the seat post, as I mentioned before, I've used their Carbo EL, which is the more lightweight seat post, and that one's been awesome on my highball. It's been very sturdy. I've, like I said, I've had a few drops and crashes on the bike, and the seat post is just chugging along just fine. And it feels like this one is just as good a quality and even a little bit, sturdier, I think, because it's not meant to be quite as lightweight as the EL. And it's only 148 grams, which if you want to go lower than that on a seat post, you're going to be spending, like I said, a pretty penny. Now, while this isn't a cheap seat post, I think it does provide very good value for what you're getting weight-wise, quality-wise, and it's a well-made product. I do have a few small minor gripes though with the seat post I do want to point out in case anyone's interested. Setting up the cradle is a little bit fiddly. The two clamps that hold the saddle onto the seat post can be a little bit tricky to get on there the first time because as you put one on, the other one kind of slips off as they sort of move with each other. And so it is a little bit fiddly to install. Again, once it's installed, that is not an issue whatsoever, but it is something to keep in mind. I do think a lot of the sort of high-end weight weenie seat posts are a little bit tougher to install because they tend to use a more minimalistic cradle design, which sort of limits how you can set it up, I guess. So this is definitely not something that only the Woodman seat post has, but it is something to be aware of, right? It can be a little bit tricky to set up the first time. And then the second little gripe I have, which again, I'm not sure if this is something that could be avoided, but the front bolt on the seat post, when you go to torque it down, there isn't enough space between the actual seat post and where the bolt is, right? And so as you're trying to get a torque wrench in there, if you look at a torque wrench, right, the head on the torque wrench is somewhat bulky, right? It's like a regular ratchet. Even this, this park tool, which is meant for bikes, even though this is a rather small head, it still kind of bangs up against there. And so I tried a couple different things. I tried a long socket, right? This is sort of a long 4mm, but even then, right, with it set up like this, I was still kind of banging up against the seat post and I couldn't actually get this to fit in the bolt head. And you don't want to put it at an angle because you're gonna strip it out, especially because it's titanium, it's softer. So I tried that didn't work. I tried a little wobble bit extension just to sort of get a little bit more of an angle, but even then that didn't really help out. along with my shorter, my shorter socket here. That's something to keep in mind, right? I even tried my little T-handle torque wrench. I just couldn't get it in there. You would probably need a low profile torque wrench to torque down the front bolt properly. And given the fact that it's rated at 3 Newton meters, both front and rear for the seat post cradle, you're gonna wanna torque that down pretty close to spec. Especially if you're clamping down on a carbon railed saddle like I was, you wanna make sure that that torque is exactly where it needs to be. Otherwise you might get some slippage. Now, what I ended up doing was just putting a little bit extra carbon fiber grip paste on there. I was able to torque the rear bolt, and then the front bolt I just sort of got snug and as close to 3 Newton meters as far as I could tell. Tried to match sort of the torque of the rear one. But I may use this as an excuse to buy a better torque wrench, or one that has a sort of a slim bolt head design or a slim head design, so you can fit it in there. But anyways, those are my 2 small gripes with the seat post. Obviously, these are minor things, and once you have the seat post set up, it's not an issue, but it is something to be aware of, right? If you don't have a torque wrench, I would probably buy one before you invest heavily in weight weenie stuff, just given that lightweight parts are more fragile and torque is more important on those sort of parts. But if you don't have a sort of low profile torque wrench, you may have a hard time getting proper torque on this seat post. I don't know if that's something that could be revised in future versions of these seat posts from Woodman. I was somehow able to torque the one on my Carbo EL. I'm not sure how. I did use this torque wrench on that one, and I was able to eventually get it. It must have just been the angle of my saddle was a little bit different, or I don't know. I was barely able to get that one, but that one I did struggle with that one a little bit too. So those are, like I said, my small gripes. But beyond that, I'm really pleased with the quality of these components from Woodman. I'm very thankful for them for sending them out for review purposes, and I can't wait to put some miles on them and see how they do. So thank you all for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope this video was informative. I'm gonna go ahead and take this bike out for a spin now and see how the new components feel out on the road. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so for more how-to videos, product reviews, build videos, all that good stuff. As usual, thank you for watching, and let's go ride. All right, so just on a little ride here with the Stigmata, going for a nice spin. Unfortunately, the creek trail I wanted to ride is still flooded from the rains we had here in the winter, so I guess I'm not going that way. Be going back the way I came. But I wanted to give a quick recap on the parts that I installed here from Woodman. I have to say I'm really impressed with all of the parts that I installed today. So the headset expander and the clamp, I mean, obviously they're smaller parts, you're not gonna feel a huge difference, but I think those, it's more about the weight savings, as we saw some pretty decent weight savings, especially for the price. And then the seat post itself, we obviously saved quite a bit of weight there. I think it looks great. It does soak up the bumps just a little bit nicer than an aluminum seat post. If you're riding over something kind of chunky, obviously it's not a suspension seat post, but it does sort of smooth out the bumps, and that's I think definitely a positive to a nice carbon seat post along with the lightweight. Now, like I did mention, there is a little bit of a difficulty in getting this front bolt torqued up properly, so you do need a really sort of low profile torque wrench or something along those lines. I guess you could probably shift this forward a little bit, but you can't really go much more forward with where these clamps are. So that's just something to be aware of. I wasn't able to get an actual torque spec on here. I just used a hex key and got it close to what I felt 3 Newton meters felt like, but that's just something to be aware of. But like I said, all in all, everything looks great. You know, gold seat post clamp here looks really nice with the green paint of the bike. The headset expander as well as top cap I think also looks really nice here, along with the gold and the green. And yeah, you know, all in all, I think these are great upgrades. I love these parts, and I think the bike looks just a lot nicer now. So I'm gonna go finish my ride now. Gonna go head back that way. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe for more videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.